All right, good morning. It's 9:40, so I'm going to start on time. Thank you for coming to my session on a Friday morning. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here. I've been attending Identiverse since 2019. Start participating as a panelist in 2020. But this is my first solo presentation, so I'm super excited to do this. I have done it co-presenters and panelists, but this is by myself, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking and excited at the same time. Exciting at the same time. So the topic I'm talking about today is, you all heard about bias, and when you talk about AI, you can say AI is bias, and the poster child of bias of all AI is biometrics. So I 2 years ago, I wrote a paper on the topic on how to help people understand that it takes a village, right, to address the topic. You can't just have the AI algorithm provider to fix it, how the ecosystem should fix it together. So this is not about the developer's perspective, because who are algorithm developers in this room? No. Good. It's not for them. Who intend to use biometric algorithm in this room? Who's intend to buy or purchase services from a biometric AI biometric provider in this room? Right? Okay. So this presentation is about that. It's about you, how to pick a better partner. It's a framework that I created 2 years ago, starting to help our customer to understand how to evaluate one biometric vendor to another in the age of AI, especially the bias issue. So, it's not working, yay. Okay, good. So my name is Teresa Wu. I am the Vice President of Smart Credential for IDEMIA Public Security. IDEMIA have changed many names over the 60 years, but we are known in the US to make driver license for 37 states, biometric system for 83 law enforcement agencies, and the 3-letter federal agency that you can think of. We also do background checks, and if you travel today with all the luggage you have, like David will tell you, we are also the TSA enrollment provider. So if you enjoy pre-check, you probably use our enrollment center, Identity Center, to get your pre-check application through. So we are in the biometrics for 40-something years. We do algorithm development to hardware development, to software application, to services. So we do quite a bit. And so I'm coming through that perspective, what we go through, and I have been in the biometric industry for 20-something years. So what does it mean, bias for biometric algorithm? Well, luckily, yesterday, FIDO presented issue ebook, and you can download from the FIDO website. It's about identity verification and about bringing confidence to biometric system. It's a survey they did sponsor for in the US, and then with 2,000 participants across the US and the UK. There's a link there. You can go on to the FIDO website and download it. And pretty much, they ask several questions. I only take two because I only care about bias. I have a bias for bias. So what you think? Do you see there's a bias in the facial verification system that you see? Is that a worry? 56%, right? It's pretty consistent. 56% agree it's still a worry that there is a bias in the verification. So that's general opinion. So it matters. And then if the biometric identification verification system have equity issue, does that going to impact the trust and reputation? And pretty much here is saying that yes, 50% of participants say if it shows that your biometric identification system have any kind of bias, your brand, your company, trust for your company will decrease, right? It will hurt your business. So this is not just having algorithm not performing, it's a problem. It's not a scientific problem. It's a business problem. It's a marketing, communication, PR problem that you have. Worse is it has been in the press. Why facial recognition is a poster child? Because it has been in the press over and over again. Every single time when there's a bias detected in any system, this happens. So, but in the same time, biometrics is a very powerful tool. You can't avoid not using it. It's like, can you really not trying to build a house without a screwdriver or without a drill or without a hammer? Biometrics is important. I can know how to use this clicker, that would be great. So I'm not going to redefine what biometric bias is, algorithm bias is. I'm going to take this from the Center of Critical Race and Digital Studies. So algorithmic bias refers to computation discrimination, whereby unfair outcome privilege one arbitrary group of people over another, right? So demographic differential, right? Your algorithm perform better in one group over the other. In this definition, the focus is on the disparate impact technology may have that may reinforce social biases on race, gender, sexuality, ethics, age, etc. At the end of the day, the computational bias, your algorithm bias that you see, it's only tips of the iceberg, right? Inherently, we have all biases. As a human being, we have biases. Therefore, there's systemic bias. There are other biases underlying what you see on top of the surface. But it will amplify what's on top. So what we are trying to address here is that tip of the iceberg, right? Even if you don't do it, the iceberg is bigger. Our job is try to come up with a framework so that this iceberg is as small and tiny as possible. Like, I don't think we'll ever eliminate bias because inherent as human nature, that's who we are. It's how we survive. Because bias helps us to have faster response. We make very quick judgment to survive. That's just the survival skills that we have gathered from thousands and thousands of years. It's in our brain. So how do we measure? To know algorithm is biased, you have to measure it. And there are many ways to do it. I do this on purpose. It's basically saying there's all kind of algorithm, and you have axis like what is your error rate compared to a group and so forth, and try to rank it. I'm not going to figure this out sometimes. Yes, okay. So how do we measure it? Well, we have to first start understanding who hates math class. Yes, I know. So bear with me, okay? We'll go through this formula together, and then you going out, you're going to become a statistician. No, I'm joking. So the first thing is in biometrics, what you know is what we always measure for accuracy is two ways. Either your match rate, you accurately match a person, or you incorrectly match a person, and then or either you missed, right? The false non-match rate. So meaning you're not supposed, you falsely miss the person, like non-match a person, right? So MFR, FMR, and FNMR. Trust me, it's the last time I'm going to talk about this acronym. And in this, in the latest FRVT, so the NIST produced a report. It's called the Face Recognition Vendor Test, for example. And inside you'll find tons of formula. They tell you exactly step by step how it's calculated. But we are not here to talk about math. We're going to skip it because honestly, I will put you guys to sleep, and I don't want to. It's morning. At the end of the day, remember it's a ratio. So I want you guys to remember at the end of biometric algorithm performances, you want to, when we talk about the discrimination over one group over the other. So when you measure the discrimination of a algorithm, you actually just doing a ratio comparison of the best performance of the algorithm over one group and the least performing, right? And if the algorithm perform as equitable as possible, ideally this number should be 1. That's it. That's it. So if your worst performance your best performance divided by your worst performance, and it's higher, that means you have a problem with that how the algorithm is performing one group over the other. So now I decoded the math of how to measure bias. We're going to talk about selection framework, the one that I would say non-mathematical part of this presentation, right? So in 2023, there's the White House issued executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development of use of artificial intelligence, AI. And biometric is like right square in it. And then a couple months later, in March, they have what we call OMB policy, talking about how to advance governance, innovation, risk management in federal agency and use of artificial intelligence. I know you're not federal agency, not all of you here. I want to share it because some of the things that set in this memo that's guidelines for federal agency to follow, it's quite relevant to what we all should be doing. It's like the baseline, right? It's pretty much saying that we need to create a strong AI marketplace so that requires safeguard for fair competition, data protection, and transparency. Think about that. To create a strong AI marketplace, it's not just federal agency that can help doing that. All the commercial, all the buyer can participate in building a strong AI marketplace. So the framework, just deep dive a little bit again. In the memo 2410, so that's the one that was issued in March. If you dig down to down bottom, like almost like 3/4 of that memo, I have a section specifically for biometric identification. How to do responsible procurement of AI for biometric identification. Literally, it's the title inside that memo. And the number one first step is you need to conduct an assessment of risk. The risk of what if you don't buy it responsibly? What are you exposing to your organization, right? So what if you're buying an AI algorithm provider that have unlawfully collected data to train their algorithm, have never asked for consent, and have unwanted biases in the system? What are the risks to your organization? Then, from there, you need to ask for supporting document and test when you're in your procurement process. So this is the background. Now I'm going to go to the paper that I wrote 2 years ago. So I wrote the paper before all this memo come out. And I'm not saying the White House have all intelligent people. So I think it's when you're in the biometric long enough, I think we all see the same thing, is that in order to address the bias issue, the buyer need to change the way they appreciate the product and the performance. So the framework has 6 areas. You're going to ask your algorithm provider to be transparent, meaning don't just ask for their data, ask for documentation. You're going to need it anyway. Ask for them to provide independently validated test results. When you talk about accuracy, the accuracy side, don't ask for accuracy performance based on one point in time. Hey, what's your test result? Don't ask for that. You ask for a test result over a period of time, meaning last 3 years, actually after 3 years, it's a generation AI anyway. So last 3 years, show me your evolution of accuracy, right? Not just the one you have done 2 years ago. I want to see what you have done 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and see how your algorithm have performed over time. Because when you buy algorithm, you are providers. You're not going to change out algorithm or provider every year, right? So you're kind of stuck with the provider for for a period of time. So you want to make sure that they're invested in committing, in improving the algorithm, their product continuously. What kind of experience they have. So I'm going to say that the AI biometric algorithm marketplace is super fragmented. You have big company like IDEMIA, but you also have smaller company, the startup, not that startup is bad, right? The smaller one that only do algorithm and do SDK and license and sell it to other people and integrate it, right? There's a chain, there's differences between SDK companies that only do algorithm and let the developer to develop it and then integrate it and then you deliver it, right? That's that chain there. So how is that the experience from the field, the reality of how the algorithm is performing get looped back into the development team to change it or improve upon it? That feedback loop is important and you should ask that question. What is your feedback loop? What happened in reality needs to be translated back into the product development. And then ethics, how ethical that company is behaving. You should ask them that question, show them you care, is a selection criteria, then you will change the vendor's behavior. If a vendor say, hey, I still make money and grow, I'm gonna the tech bro, the Silicon Valley sweetheart, why I should care? Why I should care to be ethical? Yeah, I'm going to be successful anyway, and people still keep buying my product. Why I should care? And then I hesitated in the fifth point of the framework between privacy and security. At first, I had them both together, and then my CTO said, no, it's one per framework, otherwise it's confusing. Otherwise, it's actually 6-point framework and not 7-point framework and not 6-point framework. So I decided to pick security. Not that I over privacy, because in my logic is that without security, without data security, there's no data privacy. You can't keep your data private if the solution, the algorithm provider, the technology provider doesn't care about security. Security comes first. You can do all the privacy policy, you can do all the disclosure policy for privacy, but without security, that's just empty talks because you can't walk that talk. You can't walk the privacy talk without security. Then you have to ask that question. Security assessment is important. And robustness, it means that it has to be productized. It has to meet the reality. It has to meet, ideally speaking, if I'm being idealistic, it's like it has to work for everyone, anywhere, anytime. Okay, let's be real. Not possible, right? But is that the goal, or is that sort of the expectation? I don't think so, but you should expect the vendor to, when they have issue, they will correct it. They will change it. They will go after it. And to do that, you need to address accessibility, because you have to use by everyone. It have to be usable and accessible. That means inclusive, and you think about the diversity of your user group. So all those sort of included in this robustness. To have a robust provider, that algorithm provider need to understand usability, accessibility, diversity, inclusion. And for that matter, when I say diversity, it's not just the diversity of the user group, but you should also look at the diversity of the company. I'm sorry. I mean, I know I have a man in there. But when you have a biometric tech company managed by all same group of people, rather it's all white women, all Asian women, all Asian men, or white men, you do not have diversity. Should be a red flag. You need to look at the diversity of the team, diversity of thoughts. You can't create an inclusive solution when the whole team think alike. It's come from the same background. It's just the ingredient that goes up. Remember that pyramid I talk about, the iceberg I talk about? Those are underlying human factors. So quickly, so what you can do, very easy, is when you start selecting buying your services, start asking questions, the tough questions. We created a list of questions, so these are just the one that I highlighted, is easy question you ask your vendor. And by the way, I will tell you, this is a pet peeve of mine. When you ask for third-party validated test, get the test as is, as published by NIST, as published by DHS, as published by whoever, not the report as written by the vendor. Right? You don't need the vendor to interpret the answer for you. Ask for the table as is. Let me translate this for you, because this table and this table add together mean this. Don't need that. So in the NIST, I may have to skip it because I got 5 minutes. If you go to the NIST website, you can see how they did the differential, demographic differential. They did this in 2020, the first thing they do. And you can see that you can rank them, and then you're looking at the ratio 1. That's it. And you can get that information publicly by yourself. You don't need anybody to do that. You don't need an interpreter. Another one that I talk about is algorithm performance over time versus in one point in time. I did not make that up. NIST actually took it. I just grab it over here. So one question you want to ask is, how you do it, can you give me the name and the data set you use? Because not only you want to ask for the performance over time, you also want to ask for the data, the performance over multiple data sets, because you serve different kind of people, right? Different kind of situations. So you want to see the different data sets. Then I'm going to skip this one. NIST have done many, many tests. So it's one of them. There are many tests out there, and this is I would say, the de facto, almost around the world, we all look at the NIST testing, and they do all kind of different tests between finger, face, and iris. So the next question I provided here is the experienced mobilists in the field. You're going to ask them, what's your process for continuous technology improvement? Easy, right? I mean, it's not it's a technical question, and the algorithm provider should give it to you, should tell you how they're going to incorporate lessons learned back into development. All right, now the next one, remember we talked about security and compliances. So question you may want to ask your company, the company, is how they're protecting the data, can they comply? So do a flow down. You, as your organization, definitely have security, privacy, policy you're subject to. Flow down those requirements to your vendor. All right, so there are more because of limit of time. Apparently, I only have like a couple minutes left. I'm gonna just give key takeaway and take some answers. I'm sorry, here. Key takeaway, understand the performance variation will impact your organizations and your use cases. So understand your use case first. Understand that if your algorithm that you're going to use, or if the algorithm you're going to use is going to not do well in certain population, what are you going to do about it? You should always have a backup plan, a remediation policy, because the algorithm will not work for everyone the same way, right? Responsible use of biometric solutions start with responsible procurement. So if you have a procurement template, start looking at that and see what question you need to add to make sure you challenge those the vendor to provide those answers. All right. Any questions? I made it. I made the time. Yes. So there are certain populations that the fingerprint technology have more trouble with. So we talk about the labor, like people that work with their hand a lot, the hard labor population. The fingerprint quality can get used and degrade, and therefore the algorithm may have tough time to get it. So that is a social economical discrimination. Women and kids' fingerprint are very tight, so that can also cause issues with fingerprint quality. So in a way it is. That all biometric have good things, but I would say shortcoming and advantages with the technology. So my time is up. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the session.